So, new year, new schedule, and a new season of Wayneisboss. Y'all have heard enough at this point about how rough 2020 was. Like, we all get it, we know, but let's not focus on that today. Instead, we've got a whole new chapter laid out in front of us. Tons of new things to see and do and try. And maybe we'll have an opportunity for some exciting stuff later. All in good time. We'll get to that. Either way, whatever the new year has in store for us, it's as good a time as any for some celebrating, and what better way to do that than with some fireworks? I mean, I can't really do it out in the backyard. I might catch a tree on fire, along with the neighborhood cat, and I really don't want to explain myself out of that situation. Again. But the majority of things that you can't do in real life are made possible through the world of video games. But what avenue should we go with? Animal Crossing is too obvious. That's no fun. Super Mario Bros? Classic, but it is pretty short-lived. What about Klonoa 2? Getting closer, but I need a game that's all about fireworks. Is there anything out there that could fill that void? Well, look no longer, all three of you out there looking for a game specifically about fireworks, because I've got just the thing for you. FantaVision. Am I doing this right? Never heard of it? Well, neither have 3 out of 4 of the people watching this video, but today we're gonna give this odd little game a look and see if it can help us ring in the new year. You know, like a full week after New Year's has even taken place. I'm doing my best here, okay? FantaVision. Here's an interesting title. The theme of celebrating a new era and entering a new chapter is kind of appropriate here, considering that this was originally not planned to be any kind of full game, but rather a tech demo meant to showcase the particle effects that the PlayStation 2 was capable of rendering in real time. I mean, the jumping point from the PS1 to the PS2 in terms of graphical fidelity was pretty noticeable, and something like a display of fireworks was a fantastic way to showcase that. Well, I guess someone along the way decided that there was some sort of cathartic nature to the whole thing, and that led us here, one of the platform's launch titles meant to usher in a new era of interactive entertainment. Still, people don't really talk about this one all that much. I mean, it got a nice little reference in Astro's Playroom on the PS5, it's even available to buy and play on that system as well as the PS4, but you don't really hear many people discussing this one during get-togethers or social gatherings. Yeah, it's okay, I keep forgetting those used to exist too. It's fogging out my glasses. All the same, the few people I've talked to that actually played this game remember it fondly, but I didn't even know it existed until like a week ago. To my surprise though, the game is actually pretty good. Nothing here is complicated. I mean, you're setting off fireworks, it's pretty straightforward. Obviously, there's some mechanics added to help keep it from being just a mindless exercise of taunting colorblind people, but what kind of game even is it? Best way I can describe it is that it's a color-matching, arcade-style puzzle game. As flares rise up into the air, you have to use your cursor to highlight several flares of the same color and press the circle button to ignite them. You have to have at least 3 of the same color highlighted to set them off, but of course you can chain together more and get a bigger payoff, both with the amount of points that you earn as well as in terms of the spectacle they give off. What's more is that you can use these multicolored flares as a bridge to start chaining together flares of a different color, and you want to try to get as many ignited as quick as possible, because if you wait too long before setting off a flare, it will eventually fizzle out and count as a miss. The more you miss, the more your game meter depletes, and once it's gone, that's a game over. You can avoid this by planning ahead. There's a little indicator on the bottom of the screen that will show you what colors of flare will pop up next, kind of like the little window in Tetris. You want to strategize to make sure you're detonating as many flares as you can before everything fizzles out, and the more you're able to chain together flares of different colors or set off a ton all at once, the higher your score will climb. Something that helps here is that not every flare is built the same. Depending on certain ways that they're presented, they'll ignite in different ways, like this little spinning effect or raining fireworks downwards, and of course, you'll have some fireworks that explode outward in a wide range. If these sparks end up making contact with flares of the same color, it will set them off as well. So it can be a good way of maintaining some crowd control if, say, you have some straggling flares of one color but not enough to ignite them. Well, if sparks of that color are still in the air after a previous detonation, it will help clean up the other flares of that color while you focus on flares of a different color that you can do more with. There's also a chance of igniting a flare that will result in a little star icon popping out. You can chain these together with flares of any color, just like with the multicolored flares, but setting them off will get you a new letter in the star mine meter. Complete the word and you enter a bonus stage where tons of flares all pop in, usually of the same color, and it gives you the opportunity to rake in a ton of points, but it can also be a bit of a lifeline. If you've missed a few too many flares and you gotta bring some life back to your game meter, this is a great way to do it. And oh yeah, the whole game over thing, how does that work? Well, FantaVision isn't exactly an endless affair. Starting in main game mode, we'll kick off the first of 8 stages, where the camera just sort of floats around in a dark setting, like these cityscapes in the nighttime, or like outer space in the later stages. Unless I'm missing something here, I don't think you can just pick up the game at any given stage or even at the last one you've played once you stop. I'm pretty sure that you're expected to just knock all this out in one go. I mean, it's not a tall order, to be honest. If you're playing these stages from beginning to end, you're maybe spending an hour to get through all of them. Maybe a little bit more if you end up failing one and have to start over. It's not a bad pace considering how arcadey this game feels. Like, I mean, nothing serious is going on here. The game just kind of sets you loose with its mechanics and you mess around with it until the credits roll. It's not really like you could fit any kind of story in here, right? Alright, so maybe a better way to put it is that you shouldn't try to shoehorn a story into this kind of thing. There is a setup to this game and it starts right at the main menu, but I don't get it. Who are these children, and why does the game keep showing them to me? We see these kids right at the beginning of the game, before the title screen and during the transition between each stage. They're using a lot of technology that seems like it was trying to meld together retro and modern style devices. Okay, like modern in terms of like early 2000s, I guess. I was wondering if they were trying to establish some kind of strange futuristic setting here? Like, we keep going out to space in the later stages and there's this space station floating around, so are these kids that live on that space station and are trying to meet up to play this puzzle game? Well, I can't really blame them. What else are you supposed to do out here other than getting yelled at by Patrick Stewart?
I know this may finish me as an acting ensign, but
shut up, Wesley.
No, I wouldn't really say the game is boring. It's just short. Again, I played through it in around an hour. I mean, there is a harder difficulty to try out, and I'll give the game some praise for not being completely mindless. For such a simple concept, this game can start to feel a little intense at times. Once you've got enough flares flying around of different colors, your mind starts racing trying to determine the best course of action to take to ignite all of them before you miss too many. If anything, I actually think this game has some potential to be fleshed out and expanded into something more. There is a multiplayer mode too, and I'm trying to imagine what that would look like if this game was made today. Online multiplayer, tournaments, that sort of thing? Maybe igniting flares paired up with certain icons could net you the ability to mess with the other player's game, like mixing up the colors of the flares on their screen, that sort of thing. I'm not sure if any of those features are actually in the multiplayer of this game as it stands. Sadly, I wasn't able to sit down with someone to try it out, but I always thought that puzzle games like this were more fun to play multiplayer when online or something, rather than just sharing the same screen. You know, unless it's like Bubble Bobble, or is it Bust a Move? Or is it Bubble Bobble everywhere else and it's like just called Bust a Move in America? Or was that like just for a small period of time? Sorry, what was I talking about? That really might be all there is to say about FantaVision. It's not a complicated game by any stretch, but I don't think it needed to be. It was a fun, relaxing, and cathartic experience. Even when the tension rose up a little bit during the later stages, I felt challenged, but never overwhelmed. Just what I needed right now, all things considered. Been reviewing a lot of games that took a bit more out of me. Maybe they weren't huge or anything, but they definitely gave me a lot to say, and after struggling to fit all my thoughts about Miles Morales into a single video, it was oddly refreshing to be able to just jump into this simple little title and have a good time. Yeah, maybe I just kinda need a few more projects like this. Now, of course, when I review a game, I like to try to leave you guys with an idea of if I think it's worth your time to track down the game and play it. For this particular title, I'd say yeah, why not? It's a neat and strangely charming little game that maybe didn't leave a huge impression on me, but I certainly enjoyed it, and I was still left with an itch to play a bit more of it when I was done recording footage for this review. A sure sign of a well-designed puzzle game if I've ever seen one. It's not like the game is that hard to track down or anything. You're not going to see many copies of FantaVision netting for more than like $10 online, and like I mentioned before, it's also available digitally on the PSN store for about the same price. Still, there's like a small part of me that wants an updated version of the game, some kind of like re-release that adds a couple of bells and whistles. Something I'd really love to see is the ability to listen to the soundtracks from the Japanese and European versions of this game. Which, yeah, it's a little strange, but Japan, America, and Europe all got different soundtracks to accompany this game, and I'm not entirely sure why that was the case. Got ourselves a little Sonic CD situation on our hands, I guess. I don't mind the American music at all. I think it's just fine. Nothing I could really hum off the top of my head, but it did help maintain a certain level of energy to the gameplay. Still, I can't help but think of the Macarena when I hear the music start in the first stage.
Welcome to FantaVision.
Like, come on, you can't tell me you don't hear that too. All things considered, I think I like the Japanese soundtrack the most. It's just so upbeat and full of life, and I think it definitely helps that it was composed by Soichi Terada, who also worked on the music for several games in the Ape Escape series. I'll leave a link in the description so you can give it a listen. You should give yourself some time with this comic spectacle and classic arcade-style fun. I don't want to blow this out of proportion. It's not an incredible game or anything like that, but I did enjoy it, and it helps solidify what I love the most about making videos on YouTube. I really like talking about these smaller, obscure, or just kind of like low-profile games like this, and it's something I want to do more of. I mean, I am going to be talking about bigger titles this year, Batman, Sonic, and of course Metroid in October, but I want to sprinkle in the fun, smaller videos about little games in there too, like the video we'll be doing in the next video 2 weeks from now, but I am going to keep that title a surprise, not that I think many people even know this particular game exists. You'll see. But until then, you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, Discord, whichever you prefer, links in the description, and of course, as always, spread the word, tell your friends, and until we see each other again, thank you so much for watching. See you next mission. Hey there, everyone! Welcome to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. So this was a fun little project. I was actually kind of struggling to find out what video I wanted to do next, and my coworker was like, hey, you ever heard of FantaVision? And I had not, and I tried it out, I liked it, and I thought it would just kind of be fun to do something about that. I kind of want to do more videos like that, where it's just about this small little game that kind of catches my attention. It doesn't always have to be something that I'm already super familiar with. I don't always want it to be super connected to like, oh, it's got to be in the theme of superheroes or stuff like that. Like, I don't want to be tied down. I want to explore the game industry a little bit. I want to introduce people to something that maybe they don't know about. I don't want to talk about the other stuff too, but, you know, I think there's room for both. And right now, just mental health wise, this was such a fun little experience for me. It's just the sort of thing that I want to keep doing for a little bit. But again, like I mentioned in this video, big stuff planned for the channel later on this year, so I hope you guys are looking forward to that. And of course, I get to do all of this because of lovely viewers like you, as well as my patrons. And of course, as always, I would like to give a very special shout out to my top tier patrons. This month, those would be Patricia Marcoux, Christine Larkin, Earl Valco, Nicholas Morgan, Cyrus the Skeptic, and Wonton Photo. Thank each and every one of you so much for your support. You make it possible, and you make it worth it. With all of that said, thank you so much for watching. I have been Wayne. It's getting really cold outside, and I kind of want to go back to playing Persona 5 Royal now. Alright, peace.